Hey guys, how's it going? It's Blaze, back with some more One Piece TCG content for y'all. And now with the upcoming release of OP17 on the horizon, there's definitely been some pretty major shifts in the market. Obviously, whenever we get anniversary sets, we do generally see kind of a boom in market activity. And this is no different, although I think most people feel like this anniversary set might not be quite as impactful as OP5 or OP13. It's definitely still going to have an impact. And outside of just the market, there's going to be a large impact on the meta that you can potentially get in front of by checking out some of these previous cards from sets that we have now that have a high potential for support into a lot of these new leaders and into this new meta. Before we continue, if you're interested in winning this custom OPTCG Luffy top loader binder from Binge Party TCG, all you got to do to be entered into the contest is like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below. I will also be throwing in this very beautiful OP16 Luffy alternate art, so you have a nice new Luffy card to throw in your Luffy binder. So we have had, a decent amount of movement. One thing I do think is a little bit interesting is the fact that we've actually seen prices on OP13 collapse pretty substantially here. We're down to like 5K for a case, up from like 6,500 at high sale. Still selling a lot. I think a lot of people are trying to jump on this because there were some reprints and we have a new anniversary set coming. This is always going to be a set that people are going to chase with those red mangas. So I think this is potentially a buying opportunity. Looks like this curve is flattening out a little bit. So if people wanted to pick up their, OP13 cases, now might not be the worst time ever. We are also seeing some pretty insane prices for these competitive winner cards. We got the PSA 10 Red Bull Luffy listed at 18K here. Obviously, we haven't seen a sale, but the one sale that we have seen is at 9K last month. Pretty nuts. We are also seeing this new wave of competitive winner cards doing quite well. We've got the Boa Hancock here from the Regionals Top 64. I really wanted to win one of these last weekend, but unfortunately, I got cooked by Yellow Decks really hard, so did not end up with one. These going for about 4,000, pretty much across the board. Somebody sold early for a little under, but yeah, this new set of competitive cards going for quite a lot. And I do think this reinforces that if you have a top 64 Nami from last season, if the Boas are going for this much, the Namis really should be fairly on par with this. So if you're not getting, offers close to this, maybe hold, because this is new. This hasn't been, fully disseminated out yet. So as more people win these, this will go down, but then it will go back up. So these new winner cards, very, very nice here. We are still seeing the Sakazuki manga. Honestly, all of the Admiral mangas doing a little better than I expected right now. Lowest listed at 1,500 here. Sales around pretty much close to 1,300, coming up from 12. So despite the fact that we see this graph kind of going down here, this card, the Sakazuki in particular, doing pretty damn well. Kind of the same deal with the Kuzan, although slightly lower prices. Lowest verified near mint around 1,100. Most of the sales were kind of around that range, holding pretty steady here. And then the Borsalino coming in at the end here, actually having a little bit of a rise up from, I think this was around 950 something. Yeah, like selling for 900, well, okay, light plate, but a little under 1,000. High sale up to 1,150 here. Now we're sitting at like about 1,050, so less volatile than I thought. These are holding their prices surprisingly well a month into OP16. Now that does mean we might see a situation like we did with OP14, where these crash down to like $600 or $700 in a month or two here after the next set comes out. But yeah, I've been surprised by how well these are holding on. We are also continuing to see success on the college basketball voyage Luffy. This going up pretty significantly and pretty consistently, getting our near mints up past 300. Definitely seen, so some people buying really high late last month, and we're not seeing that as much anymore. But overall, this is continually, going up at a pretty pretty consistent rate here. So now looking at some nice Luffy cards that I think are getting a little bit overlooked right now. I do think the Luffy Taro SP from OP11 being down to the low 300s here. If you want a Luffy card, for some reason my TCG player is slowing down. It's kind of annoying. This is probably a good one to jump on. I've been kind of saying this for the last couple times, so sorry for repeating myself, but I really do think it's true. This is a great card. Amazing, amazing artwork in person. And I know people want to get, you know, high rarity Luffy cards at more reasonable prices because they get priced out of like the really, really high end stuff, right? I do think this is a pretty good entry point, as well as I think this OP05 Gear 5 alt art, now that it's calmed down a little bit. There was a while this card was going pretty insane. It was almost like $400 or something like that. And now we're kind of back to, you know, a little bit more of a reasonable pricing, going for, you know, like a little under 300, which is still high. But as far as like higher end Luffy cards go, I think this is another pretty good entry point one. And, you know, OP5 only gets further and further away, so these just get rarer and rarer, right? Okay, now I kind of want to talk about some of the more meta stuff, some of the stuff I think is going to be directly affected by the OP17 reveals that we have here. Starting off with the manga version or alternate art version of the DMG here. If you've seen a lot of the announcements around OP17 so far, it's looking like green is going to be very, very strong, either in the green Shanks deck or the green Mihawk deck. And this is a green staple that I think will stick around just because of its versatility. Obviously, with the newly revealed Shanks having the ability to just tap down the entire board, right? In that situation, you're not going to be using this to like rest two of your opponent's characters are done. You're just going to play out your Shanks that rest everything and you don't care anymore. But if you don't have that card, or if you are trying to get in more aggression a little bit earlier in the game, so that when you do play out your big bodies, you can really, you know, go for lethal fully, or just having the flexibility of also using it as a counter card. You know, you're seeing the price is only going up on this, and we're up to like almost 200 here for near mint. This might be one you want to jump on before you get priced out. At the same time, we are getting to the point where, you know, it is starting to dip back down a little bit, so maybe don't buy at this peak here. But this is definitely a card that I would say you should really be keeping your eyes on, or if you already have some of these, you know, this might be a good time to try to get some returns on these. Another one I do want to bring up is the OP05 purple Luffy here. Might seem a little strange, but with a lot of the purple support here, I think there are going to be people who are going to be trying this deck out again. You are seeing, you know, near mints going for over $100 here. We haven't seen sales all that high outside of a couple, but as you can see, you know, there's activity on this card over the past couple days. If you can snag a near mint copy for like a relatively low price here, like some of these people are, I think it's definitely not a bad leader to have around. It is also a Luffy from OP05, so that on its own, you know, kind of counts as a point towards it. But yeah, having like really good new ramp cards that are coming out to support Kaido is only helpful to this deck if people want to play it. And particularly in the extended format, this is one that really could pop off a little bit. Following up on that, as far as purple Straw Hat cards go, this is one that I've felt is pretty underrated for a while now, and I think people are kind of starting to catch on a little more. But the OP09 Treasure Rare Zoro here, for the ST18 version of Zoro here, I think this is one of the most underrated treasure rares, and I think people are starting to see that a little more. We have seen more activity around this card. As far as the older treasure rares go, this is kind of one of the cheaper ones, and I think for a Zoro with this nice of an art, if you see it, and especially if you've seen the Wano part of the anime and you know the scene this is from, this is really cool. This is actually probably one of my favorite Zoro cards, and it's also a very, you know, relevant card for any kind of purple Straw Hat type deck. So if there's purple Straw Hat type decks that start gaining some more relevance again, that will also drive this card up. I still think this is one of the most slept on treasure rares from older sets, and I think that is starting to change. So if you want to get ahead on that, it might not be, the worst pickup. Carrying on the trend of the manga events, and now recently talking a little bit more about manga events, I think this one's in a really good spot. This is a card I do think people are going to run in the new Kaido deck, and it is on a bit of a decline right now. So I think if you can score yourself a copy of this card before it starts coming back up, we are seeing the near mint foils around $90. I just picked one of these up. I think this is a good one to be picking up. I think, a lot of people are seeing that. This is just a really, really solid purple card. A lot of people are going to play this. The ability to have counter or power reduction in a lot of purple decks, especially because, I think there is a solid chance that Kaido does still run some of these, like Enel package removal / control cards, like Mamaragan, obviously, for sure. I think if you have a Divine Departure and a Mamaragan in the same deck, that's always going to give you some really good options. And I think this card will, maybe see an uptick once that leader comes out due to that. Right now, it's still fairly affordable, though. So I think if you need copies of this, now's probably the time to jump on it before they start going back up again. At least that's what I'm doing. Now, with these OP17 leaders, you do have to keep in mind that a lot of this is speculation, and we don't know what all of the support for these leaders is going to be. So it's potentially possible that we come out and get support when the actual set drops that invalidates some of these older cards. But I do think that a lot of these staples will continue to see play. Okay, now this is a little random weird one I put in, and I've posted about this card before, and all it's done is just continue to crash. But I do think at some point it is possible that this card could potentially get unbanned if they keep printing blue cards that draw as much as they do, or this could become legal to play in the extended format after there is a block 2 rotation potentially. So I think, there's a potential world where the value of this card really, really goes back up very dramatically. This is very gambly. Like this, I'm not saying this is a sure bet or anything, but we're down to like $82 from a card that used to be like over 200. So if you do buy a card at $80 and then it does get unbanned and go back up, more significantly towards what that price used to be like, obviously you're talking about a really, really huge return there. Now, that's super gambly. I'm not saying that you should do this, but I do kind of feel like I can bring this up as if we're talking about any SPs that I see as like underrated right now because this is banned. I think it definitely falls into that category. And I think a lot of people sold this card off. I'm holding on to my copies of this card. We've already seen that we can have stuff like the Black Lucci events get unbanned, which were considered, like insanely overpowered at the time. So I think that we have a lot of precedent to potentially anticipate that there will be unbannings of cards in the extended format after they are block rotated out, because we saw that with some of the worst offenders from the early sets here going into this first extended format. Okay, now with green, the ship might have already sailed on this one, but I think this just probably does continue to go up. This Shanks alternate art from PRB2, or the other alternate art of the Shanks, or the base art. I'm showing alternate arts for these cards, but everything I'm saying applies to even the very, very base rarities of these cards. But this Shanks KO up to one of your opponent's rested character, 9-drop 11k. This card is definitely going to be seeing play in most of the green decks. We've already seen it almost double in price over the past couple days here. And yeah, that's for good reason. A lot of people are going to be buying these up, and it's probably going to continue to shoot upwards. If you want to just get, your copies of the base rarity of this, now is definitely the time to do it. I think, a lot of these green staples, going back to what I was saying about the Dead Man's Game again, these are definitely going to be seeing play in the green decks with just the support that Shanks brings into the color pool. Be that, the Mihawk or this new Shanks itself, this is going to see a lot of play. And as well, this And piggybacking off of that, this OP14 Shanks here, I feel similarly about. It's not going to be as omnipresent, I don't think. I think this is a card that's going to stay probably more in Mihawk, although, you know, we could definitely see it come up some with the red-green Luffy that we're going to be getting. I don't know if this sees as much play as the big pop Shanks, but it's definitely on the way up. Obviously, you know, these Shanks or just red-haired pirates, you know, cards that are in the green pool in general, these are going to start popping off. We're, you know, seeing it over yeah, I mean, just today, a lot of people are buying these. I'm really annoyed that it's not logged into my TCG account. But I made all these extra tabs, so none of these tabs are logged in. So even if I log in, it doesn't do anything. I already tried. But yeah, just more power reduction. It's a good card. It's a green card. Good green cards are going to go crazy. Once again, the base version of this, you know, same deal. And now shifting over into red, I do think that we might see this Edward Newgate increase in price a little bit. We do have the new Newgate leader coming, but I think that's a little bit less relevant than actually what the Newgate support is going to do for the red ace leader that we have in OP16. And this is a card that's very strong in that red ace leader. So I do think there's a solid potential. You're starting to see an uptick here. I think that this could go up more significantly over the next couple weeks here, especially as people start testing that deck and cooking it up a little bit more. And following up on that does bring me to the alternate art of the OP16 ace that we have right now. I'm not saying that this will happen, but I do think there is a potential that this leader gains some significant popularity with all of the Whitebeard support. Some of those new cards, that new 10-drop Whitebeard that you can play out for 6, really does make this deck significantly better than it is right now. I'm not sure if it'll be meta viable, but I think a lot of people are going to be buying this leader. You're starting to see it already here, so if you want to get ahead on that, there is definitely the potential that this leader sees a significant increase in popularity during OP17. I definitely think when it comes to red leaders, this will probably be more popular than the red Newgate that we actually got in OP17. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I think there's a very significant chance that that does end up being the case. After that, we do have the Starter Deck EX Zoro parallel, and I think this kind of goes across a lot of the Starter Deck EX cards here, as far as both the base rarities and the alternate arts. Definitely like the Rush Luffy as well. Once we head into the Starter Deck meta here in a couple weeks, this red S21 Luffy is going to start seeing some play again. So if you want to, you know, jump on that and get some of these cards from the last Starter Deck that synergize with that, you are going to start seeing, you know, more activity around these cards. You're seeing it over the past couple days here. I'm not sure how long the relevancy of this will stick around, so this might be a little bit more of a quick flip, and we might be a little close here. I don't think this is a deck that's going to have a ton of longevity, so do keep that in mind when you look at some of these red Straw Hat cards, but there is movement happening here. I think it does bear mentioning that you know, the Starter Deck meta we have right around the corner is also going to affect these things, and that is something to be considering in addition to just the release of OP17 coming up. Same thing with this EB04 Zoro here. This thing's going up. Again, this is the alt art. This is you can apply everything I'm saying to the base arts as well. I'm just showing the alt arts because they look cooler and, you know, they have bigger numbers, so it's like more exciting, I guess. But yeah, seeing pretty significant shoot up here. This is definitely going to be a card that's going to see play in this upcoming meta, and we're seeing, yeah, even just today, from this morning to now, we've seen over 20 bucks of a price increase. So this is definitely something to be aware of. Again, don't know how long some of this red comeback around red Straw Hats is going to last, or even if it's really that legit to begin with. I actually tried to make a video about that new ST31 Luffy, and yeah, wasn't really seeing the results that I thought I might off that deck. I'm not actually convinced that it's that good. It is cool though, it is fun. And then, yeah, back to purple a little bit. This is a little disorganized. Sorry about that. But the Mamaragan, I actually don't like this alt art, but I know a lot of people probably are going to want it. I think the base art of this looks better. But again, bigger number. So we're going to look at this. And yeah, you do see immediately a big shoot up here. I think Kaido is going to be around. Not a ton of activity on the alt art here. I think a lot of people actually feel similar to me about the base art, where they feel very content just playing the base art. So I think if you go and look at the base art of this, you're going to see a lot more activity around it. But yeah, definitely a big shoot up here. We've gone from $55 up to $80 just in the past 3 days. So obviously that tells you a lot right there. This is a very, very powerful card in purple, and it synergizes off of Kaido's leader effect. Pretty much just by itself, you can actually just swing something. Like if they have a 7k on the board, you swing their leader, you -1 to go -2 on that body, and then you can immediately Mamaragan it. You don't even have to combo this card into things anymore. With that Kaido leader, just having, you know, immediate power reduction printed on the card itself. Really, really good. And then also piggybacking off of that, we do have the Lightning Dragon. I'm not sure if Lightning Dragon is going to end up making it into like what the final builds of Kaido end up looking like. But again, it is something that will be good to deal with some of your opponent's characters that have, you know, on KO effects that you want to avoid, or just keep them frozen before you have your 10 drop nullify effect removal cards down on the field. I do think it's like kind of iffy to be minusing Dawn to do something like that before you have those 10 drops on the field, right? If you're, you know, trying to get there. But there's definitely potential situations where, like, let's say you play the 10 cost blocker -1 to then activate that effect and get it back active plus untap 1. And then you play your removal guy next turn, and you kind of use this to stall for that. It is coming down. I'm not sure this is something that a lot of people are betting on making it into these Kaido lists, but hey, you know what? It's a cool card. I think it's a very good purple card, and there is still some activity around it. The alternate art is also just a cool manga alternate art of an event, and I think these all look really fantastic, and I feel like it's almost always a safe bet going into collecting these. So if the price is down on this, I think this is definitely not a bad pickup for sure. And then staying on Kaido, yeah, it looks like more and more people are trying out the Gum Gum Lightning build of Kaido, which I do think is quite strong. In my experience, we are seeing a big increase over the past couple days on the Gum Gum Lightnings here. Well, maybe more like in the past week. Looks like over the past couple days, it's been, you know, pretty consistently like $48 per copy of this. This is a gorgeous card. I do own some of these. I think this is a really nice one. And maybe now's not the time to buy if it's like a flip, because I also don't know if this build of Kaido actually makes it, you know, into the main set once we get all the support revealed. But, you know, it seems worth discussing that this card's definitely seeing some movement. And if you're sitting on copies of this, you know, now might be a pretty good time to try to see a return on them if you're not interested in playing the new Kaido deck or the Gum Gum Lightning version of it. And then, yeah, just to close us off, we're seeing like pretty crazy sold listings for these round 1 promos here. I don't really get this. I don't particularly like how these cards look, and the whole round 1 collab thing seemed like it was just kind of a overhyped. But yeah, I mean, this Luffy is going for pretty crazy prices. Obviously, we don't see any graded copies of it yet, but yeah, if you did manage to get into the round 1 promo, yeah, you're definitely very up. I mean, these packs by themselves are going for a lot. And yeah, there's obviously a big hype for this, and people do really want these. So yeah, that was also a thing that happened this week that probably bears some amount of discussion. But yeah, All right, guys. Well, as always, I'm very interested to hear your thoughts. Let me know what you think down in the comments section below, and you might have a chance to win that binder and that Luffy alt art. OP17 looking pretty crazy, but there's definitely a lot of debate around whether it lives up to the previous anniversary sets. Obviously, I didn't show off all the new reveals or anything, but it kind of looks like the SPs in this set are kind of taken a lot of precedence over the mangas, and I think people have mixed feelings about that. Personally, I think these new SPs look really good. Not a big fan of most of the mangas, but I do like the Kaido. I think that it's funny how big and giant he is on the card, and you can't even like see the manga panels behind him. Is it like ideally what I would want for a Kaido manga? No, I would much rather have him, in the dragon form, kind of like what the leader looks like. But I get that what the card actually is representing is, just big body humanoid Kaido being on the field. But yeah, big market booms coming up. Definitely a good time to either prepare for the new set or, start selling some stuff. I know I've definitely been selling some stuff myself when the market booms up like this. As one of my friends said, everybody's suddenly a vendor when cards are doubling in price. So maybe a time to start taking some returns on some of the cards that you've picked up over the last year. But I do think there is potential to maybe preempt some of the stuff that is going to be popular in the OP17 set. You got to stay a little bit tapped into the actual game there, a little bit tapped into the actual meta. If you play the game, you'll be more tapped in general. And you can go check out my new Kaido video that I uploaded earlier today too, breaking down some of the gameplay on that new deck. Super, super excited to have a new purple big boy ramp deck again. But yeah, until next time, peace.